Welcome to the Big Sky Astrology Podcast with your host, astrologer and author, April Elliott Kent.
Hello, invisible friend. April here, and the date today is December 8th, 2025. Welcome to episode 324 of the Big Sky Astrology Podcast. This week, Mercury makes a lot of moves, entering Sagittarius, aspecting Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, and presiding over the Virgo Last Quarter Moon. Neptune stations direct in Pisces. Mars relaxes with Neptune for a few hours, but then moves into industrious Capricorn. And once again this week, we have so many transits to cover that there just wasn't time to include a listener question. I have a couple of ideas about how to handle this going forward if we keep having these incredibly busy weeks. In the meantime, please be sure to go ahead and send me your questions, and we will get them into the queue for future episodes. Mars in Sagittarius squares Saturn in Pisces on Monday, December 8th at 4:15 p.m. Pacific Time. This is at 25 degrees 15 minutes Sagittarius and Pisces. Mars coming together with Saturn is the classic 1 foot on the gas, 1 foot on the brake transit. And when they're square each other, one foot doesn't quite know what the other foot is doing, and they disagree on who should go first. When Mars and Saturn are together, we have the choice of what lessons to take away from the transit. Impose more control and discipline over your temper, impulsiveness, your physical drives, or let yourself get stuck into a chronic rage against anybody who is in a position of authority in your path. When these two are together, it can be easy to beat ourselves up for our faults and our failings, whether they're real or imagined. And probably the better approach to take is to bring all of our energy to the task of getting our lives organized in such a way that will move us forward and from a stronger platform. It's not the easiest transit in the world, because anything we are moving forward to try to get done, we keep finding barriers in our path. And I always think with Saturn, it doesn't throw up these barriers just to frustrate us and make us angry, but rather to stall us out long enough to make really sure that what it is we're trying to do is absolutely the right thing. On Wednesday, December 10th at 4:23 a.m. Pacific Time, Neptune stations direct at 29 degrees 22 minutes Pisces. Neptune has been retrograde since July 4th, when it stationed at 2 degrees 10 minutes Aries. It moved back into Pisces on October 22nd, and now that it's direct, it will enter Aries again on January 26th. 2026, and it won't leave that sign until May 21st, 2038. When a planet stations, whether it's direct or retrograde, we tend to feel them more. The 2 days or so around the station, there could be a general lack of clarity. In the case of Neptune, it's like we're waking up from a nap and we are a little bit fuzzy-headed. We need to be careful with Neptune things like medications or any kind of mind or mood-altering substances. The Sabian symbol for the station is 30 Pisces, the Great Stone Face. Or as Dane Rudyard put it, a rock formation like a face is idealized by a boy who, as he grows up, begins to look like it. And what that means is we become what we idealize. While Neptune has been retrograde, it's been about looking within for our ideals of what we'd like to be or become. And now that Neptune is moving direct, there is an outward projection of those ideals, those ideas that we've been living with since July. In the days surrounding this station, we might be hearing more in the news, say, about things like medications or about drugs generally that have been developed or are being developed. The controversy around drugs and vaccines may very well be in the news, and particularly a lot of conversation about the clarity of public figures. Mercury is very busy this week, and we begin on Wednesday, December 10th, with Mercury's opposition to Uranus at 11:59 a.m. Pacific time. And on the next day, Thursday, December 11th at 2:19 a.m., just a couple of hours later, Mercury is trine Neptune. Now, because of Mercury's recent retrograde period, this is the third and final time that these transits are occurring. Mercury opposed Uranus on October 29th when it was direct, November 19th when it was retrograde, and now it is finishing up with this current opposition. Uranus symbolizes rebellion, and Mercury can give a voice to that rebellion. There could be a person, a book, a movie, a conversation that you overhear, some catalyst that awakens your desire to be free and independent. Sudden downloads or breakthroughs are possible. Words can have a tremendous impact. Mercury trines Neptune on December 11th at 2:19 a.m. And because of Mercury's retrograde, this is the third and final time we will experience this transit for a while. The first trine was on October 29th, then on November 19th, when Mercury was retrograde. This aspect is a little bit similar to Neptune moving direct. We need to be mindful of the content that we consume, music, the written word, movies. The things that you watch now or listen to now will tend to stay with you for a long period of time. It's not the very best transit for things like sharp analysis and logic, but intuition should be heightened. Breakthroughs are possible. And if you are an artistic person, the urge to create will likely be very strong. Now, this is a trine aspect. It's a flowing energy between the planet of rational thought and the planet of intuition and illusion. That means there's no real obstruction between them. And so our ideals and illusions are flowing freely. And while that's great for certain things like artistic creation, it's not necessarily the best for figuring out what is what and who is who. Now it's time for the moon report. And as always, we begin with the week's major lunation. This week, that is the Virgo Last Quarter Moon on Thursday, December 11th, 12:52 p.m. Pacific Time at 20 degrees 4 minutes Virgo and Sagittarius. Any last quarter moon is an important time in the lunar cycle to get real, to figure out exactly what we need to do to finish up whatever we put in place at the most recent new moon. So consider, have you bitten off more than you can chew or more than your budget can handle? Are you trying to handle too many details yourself? Are you trying to recreate unrealistic fantasies on a down-to-earth budget? This is an excellent time for delegation. Virgo is the sign of helpers. And make peace with the limitations of your financial budget, your energy, and your schedule. It could be that now is the time you realize that what you set in place at the Scorpio new moon is not necessarily feasible or realistic, and that you have to make some changes. This is a critical moment when you have to decide, are you going to let yourself become stressed out and brittle? Or are you going to figure out how to relax a little bit and enjoy the journey as much as you'll enjoy reaching the destination? This is the last quarter in a lunar phase family cycle that began with a new moon on September 14th, 2023 at 21 degrees 58 minutes Virgo. What did you set in place at that time that was of the nature of Virgo? Were there work projects or ambitions that you wanted to create or achieve? Was it a time when something important was going on with your job, perhaps with a pet, because Virgo is connected with small animals? 9 months later, at the first quarter moon at 23 degrees 39 Virgo, on June 13th, 2024, was time to initiate some action around those new moon goals. And then 9 months after that, at the full moon at 23 degrees 56 Virgo, on March 13th, 2025, all was revealed as things are at the full moon when the moon is so bright. And we look back at the new moon and think, oh, I thought I could do this and this and this and this. Seems to be I'm only going to be able to do maybe half of that. And then the last quarter moon comes along, as it does this week on December 11th at 20 degrees 4 minutes Virgo. And it's the final action point in this lunar phase family cycle. The question is, what do I need to do to achieve as much of my new moon goals and ambitions as I possibly can? Because I know now I can't achieve them all, or in any case, in exactly the same form that I originally imagined them. Let's look at the void of course moon periods for this week. On Tuesday, December 9th, the moon in Leo squares Uranus in Taurus at 8:56 p.m. Pacific time. It's void of course for 2 hours and 24 minutes and then enters Virgo at 11:20 p.m. A square between the moon and another planet as it goes void of course indicates there is a challenge that we're trying to deal with. The moon represents the things that bring us comfort, and it is in the very stubborn and fixed sign of Leo. With both the moon and Uranus in fixed signs, because Uranus is in Taurus, stability will play a big role in how comfortable we feel. When the moon connects with Uranus, we're being asked to be open to something that is new and unexpected. Consider choosing a movie or TV show that's completely different from what you typically watch. This is during the evening on the U.S. West Coast, when many of us settle down to watch a little television. So choose something quite different. Play Netflix Roulette, where you say, I don't know what this is, let's give it a try. Use this void of course moon period to initiate a new habit of exposing yourself to new forms of art. On Friday, December 12th, the moon in Virgo opposes Neptune at 6:51 a.m. Pacific time. It's void of course for 1 hour, 13 minutes, and then enters Libra at 8:04 a.m. Pacific Time. Opposition aspects bring awareness. Oppositions are often worked out through relationships. You might find yourself putting others on a pedestal, which often happens with Neptune, and you could benefit from a more grounded perspective. Use this void of course moon period to get in the habit of being inspired by others, Neptune, but not unrealistically infatuated. And on Sunday, December 14th, the moon in Libra sextiles Mars at 7:36 p.m. Pacific Time. It's void of course for only 15 minutes and then enters Scorpio at 7:51 p.m. Sextile aspects bring an opportunity. And here is an opportunity to go after something that you want. Sprinkle in a little of that Libra charm, and there's a good chance that you will get what you're going after. Use this particular void of course moon period to get in the habit of going after what you want with an attitude that is lighthearted and fun. Mercury enters Sagittarius on Thursday, December 11th at 2:40 p.m. Pacific Time. Mercury is in its detriment in Sagittarius, meaning it's in the sign opposite the sign that it rules. And it isn't necessarily at its strongest in this sign. Sagittarius is concerned with the big picture rather than details, and Mercury is much more interested in minutia and details. So while Mercury is in this sign, it actually is a good transit for taking a broad overview or doing long-term thinking. It is effective for questioning our beliefs and really good for beginning a higher level of education or maybe taking on a situation where you are teaching others. Mercury will be in Sagittarius until January 1st, 2026. And 2 days later, on Saturday, December 13th, at 8:32 a.m. Pacific Time, Mercury in Sagittarius sextiles Pluto in Aquarius. Mercury is on the Sabian symbol 3 Sagittarius, 2 men playing chess. And Pluto is on 3 Aquarius, a deserter from the Navy. Now, again, because Mercury was retrograde, this is the third and final time we will experience this particular Mercury aspect. The first was on October 30th, and the second was on November 17th when Mercury was retrograde. Mercury getting together with Pluto takes a great agility of mind, a great curiosity and fluidity with a very powerful symbol, Pluto. And it really is a moment in time when our mental faculties, even though Mercury is in Sagittarius, a sign in which it's not considered at its very strongest, it picks up real power when it is in aspect with Pluto. I like the symbol of 2 men playing chess. Chess to me always feels like a Plutonian or Scorpionic sport. I like the idea of the 2 planets evaluating each other's strengths. And the Sabian symbol 3 Aquarius, a deserter from the Navy, makes me think of a person in my own family who apparently was a deserter from the Navy. And makes me think, what makes a person do that? It's not always about fear or about not being willing to do the work. In this case, it was a member of my family who was a farmer and really felt the need to get back and work his farm. So there are a lot of reasons sometimes that people choose to do the things that they do. So while Mercury is sextile Pluto, again, we are at the end of a chain of these aspects, Mercury with Pluto. And here is the opportunity to maybe really go after something you've been thinking of doing for a while that requires great stick-to-itiveness, great perseverance, and keen perception. Mars squares Neptune on Sunday, December 14th at 3:44 a.m. Pacific Time at the very last degrees of Sagittarius and Pisces. This can be an excellent transit for putting our Mars skills to work for a good cause. Volunteer for your favorite charity, coach a sports team of underprivileged kids. It's an effective transit for things like bringing a spiritual or artistic influence into your work or into your physical routines. So doing some yoga, some meditation, some dance. It is not the very best transit for anything that requires strong drive or intense focus, or for anything that mostly benefits you. This one really comes into its own when we dedicate our energy to pursuits that give back to your profession or to your community. Cultivate flexibility and know when you need to step back and take a break. If you have artistic intentions, this is an excellent time to begin a new project. Mars is on the Sabian symbol 30 Sagittarius, the Pope. And this is a symbol really about living as a transpersonal symbol, representing an ideal. And then Neptune is on that Sabian symbol 30 Pisces, the great stone face, the rock formation like a face that's idealized by a boy who grows up and begins to look like it. We've been talking about that one so much as Neptune has been hovering around this degree. And here we have two symbols that give a similar message, and it's about ideals. It's about representing an ideal and about becoming more like the things that we idealize. Mars square Neptune is an opportunity to review what our ideals are and how we can represent them in the most positive manner. Later that day, Mars enters Capricorn on Sunday, December 14th at 11:34 p.m. Pacific Time. Anything that enters Capricorn enters it through the Sabian symbol 1 Capricorn, an Indian chief demanding recognition. It is about claiming power and about observing the effects of unrestrained personal power. So we go from that Mars and Neptune aspect that urges us to use our Mars faculties in the interest of others. That it goes from that to 1 degree of Capricorn and being a chief demanding recognition. Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn, meaning it's in one of its very strongest signs. Energy, in this case Mars, combines with structure and pragmatism of Capricorn. So we tend to get more done and get more out of what we've done when Mars is in Capricorn. It's like a good Mars-Saturn aspect. This is a really strategic, controlled, and professional sign for Mars. There's no wasted effort, no pointless actions, no anger. Every move is a study in efficiency. It's a really great transit for managing practical matters with maximum efficiency and professionalism, but also at the same time with great drive and motivation. Mars will be in Capricorn until January 23rd, 2026. If we keep having weeks like this one where there are just so many transits going on that it's hard to find time for a listener question, I may have to break the listener questions out into a separate podcast or do them on YouTube or something, because once again this week, we don't really have time for a listener question. And it's a shame because I do have a couple of good ones in the queue ready to be done. Let's hope we can get to them next week. And in the meantime, do keep sending your listener questions. You can send a voicemail of 1 minute or less to speakpipe.com/Big Sky Astrology Podcast, or send your message to me by email at april@bigskyAstrology.com. And be sure you put podcast question in the subject line. Well, that's everything that I have on my show sheet, so I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you for listening to the Big Sky Astrology Podcast. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to subscribe or follow the show in your app of choice. It really does help other people find the show. Leave a rating or review, and I hope that you'll help spread the word by telling an astrology-loving friend about the podcast. You can read show notes and full transcripts and leave your comments about each episode at bigskyastropod.com. Thank you very much to everyone who's shown support for the podcast, and especially during my September Podathon. On each episode, I'm thanking some of my financial donors by name. This week, let's give a Big Sky Astrology podcast shout out to John Kerr and Anna Papakonstantinou. Anna, I sure hope I pronounced your name correctly. And John, thank you so much to both of you for listening to the podcast and for supporting the show with your donations. If you would like to support the show and receive access to my bonus video episodes for donors only, please go to bigskyastropod.com and make a contribution of $10 or more. Our next bonus video is scheduled for Saturday, December 13th, so be sure to donate so that you can join in. You can make a one-time donation in any amount or become an ongoing monthly contributor. That's it for this episode. Join me again bright and early next Monday. And until then, keep your feet on the ground and your eyes on the stars.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about April Elliott Kent, visit her website, bigskyAstrology.com, where you can sign up for her newsletter, read her thoughtful essays, find out more about her books and classes, or book a personal astrology reading. That's all for today. If you're enjoying the podcast, please take a moment to follow or subscribe to stay current with new episodes. And please leave a rating or review. You can follow Big Sky Astrology on Facebook or Twitter, and Big Sky Astrology April on Instagram. Thanks again for being here, and we hope you'll join us next time.